The title of the video, by the way, is I'm ready to go to DC and blow things up. Let's listen.
Kandiss Taylor joins us from Georgia. Ma'am, are you up to the fight to go to Washington, D.C. and set things right, ma'am?
Well, I think that the people of the first district think I'm up for the fight. I've been asked at least 1,000 times, no joke, for the past 4 years to please run for Congress. And so they want to be on the map in the first district. We are a beautiful district. I'd say the prettiest one in the state. We have industry, ports, we have all the things. And Steve, they're tired of being ignored and they're ready for someone to go and fight for them and what they need and to stand up for morality.
You know what I find so super fascinating about this? She says we have industry and ports, right? Ports have never really been a problem. Like, when do you ever hear people talk about ports in the United States? Because once it hits the United States, that's what matters. You can transport the items, and the difference between transporting an item from a mile away from the port to 200 miles away from the port is just the cost of like gas and paying the truck driver. It's not like you have to pass it through you have to pay special prices for certain states, like their countries or something like that. That's just not how the United States works. Here's what I find particularly fascinating, though. When she mentions ports, I found a lot of propaganda spreading around about Texas having warm water ports, trying to encourage people to go to Texas because they have warm water ports. Like, what the fuck is a warm water port? On further investigation, nobody cares about warm water ports, quote unquote, except for Russia. Literally, they are the only ones that care about that because they're the only ones that have ports that are cold that can only be used like part of the year, basically, because of how cold they are. The United States does not have any ports that are unusable for like half the year because of how cold it is. When you see people mention ports, or more specifically, warm water ports, they got their talking point from Russia, straight from Russia. It's the most obvious tell ever. She ran for governor in 2022, and she famously she was just psychotic. Like, I don't know how else to frame this. She was just psychotic. She had so many insane, ridiculous problems. She's a flat earther. Pretends not to be a flat earther, but she absolutely is a flat earther. If you don't know her, I'm probably going to talk about her in more depth. You may better know her as the Jesus Guns and Babies woman. Jesus Guns and Babies. She had a van. Anyway, yeah, that's Kandiss Taylor. She also ran on a platform of destroying the Georgia Guidestones. They were these big, I think, granite like landmarks or whatever. They were supposed to act as like a calendar and a clock, and they had 10 ideas for how to rebuild civilization if it's been destroyed. And they're supposed to last for like millions of years, basically, in their condition. And she wanted them destroyed because she believed that they were satanic. And wouldn't you know it, shortly after she lost her gubernatorial race, somebody came up with a bomb and destroyed them. And we have it on video, people coming up with the bomb, destroying them. And she said, it wasn't a person with a bomb, it was a lightning strike. They were struck by lightning. It was God. He wanted this.
Struck by lightning. There's been meteorologists that have looked at the video. They see the charge of the lights behind it, getting bigger, and then they see the purple blue haze, the heliotrope after that happens in a lightning strike. Right. And so it went from that to an explosion. Well, was it an explosion from lightning? I don't know.
No, it wasn't lightning. We have clear as day footage of somebody walking up with a bomb. Look, you can see them in the top corner here. You see the person, right? Let me see if I can zoom in here. Wait, can I zoom in? I don't know if I can. No, I don't think I can zoom in. But anyway, you can see the person, right? They're walking up. They drop something in between the guidestones. They walk away. And this happens after they drop the bomb. Boom. Massive explosion. So yeah, that was most definitely a bomber, right? Like, it clears that, like, we even saw the bomb.
Oh, but that is what it looks like to me. That is what it looks like to specialists who know lightning strikes.
Right.
But yet I was painted that I would have. I never said anything about blowing up the guy's stones. I said
she's a terrorist. She's a domestic terrorist, and she knows that she is. Anyway,
and they're
that's
ready for.
that's partly why it's so concerning to me when I see a video titled something like "I'm ready to go to DC and blow things up," coming from Kandiss Owens, Kandiss Taylor. God, I keep mixing it up. Coming from Kandiss Taylor, that's a bad harbinger.
For someone to go and fight for them and what they need and to stand up for morality.
Kandiss, I would say that you're kind of the personification of a big part of the MAGA movement. I would call it the pure of heart and pure of intent. Are you? But the question is, are you ready for the grime and muck and the tough fight? A primary where, as you know, the Rhinos are going to try to come in and hold that seat, and then Democrats are going to look at you if you win the primary as an easy pickoff target. Are you prepared to do, like in the Untouchables, are you prepared to do what you have to do to win here?
I've never seen the Untouchables, but I get the impression he's encouraging her to commit some act of domestic terrorism. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Oh, we're going to win, Steve. And I don't know that they're ready for me. I don't know that they're ready for what I'm going to come at them with. And I don't know that.
For domestic terrorism? No, I'm not ready for that, nor do I want that. I don't think anybody wants a domestic terrorist.
They're ready for the big donors that's already called and committed. And we're going to come. We're going to raise a lot of money, and we're going to be in this fight, and we're going to fight to win. And I have Democrats that are going to support me because they know that I represent Jesus. And you got to remember.
She represents Jesus. Totally. You know what drives me up a wall about her voice over anything? The fact that it's nearly identical to Marjorie Taylor Greene's voice and to Greg Locke's wife's voice. Ty Locke is her name. Nearly identical.
Remember, I'm in the Bible Belt. I'm in the southern part of Georgia.
How could we forget?
And we care about morality down here, and we're tired of people ignoring us. We're tired of not being relevant. We had a huge hurricane come through here, Hurricane Helene, and we have farmers that lost everything. We have a ton of forestry that was completely lost. We're talking about private families lost millions of dollars that was their retirement they were counting on.
Yeah, and we care about that. I care about that. Even as a Democrat, I care very much that people don't have everything taken from them. Their lives are not ruined. It's not me who's trying to prevent federal financial aid from going to like certain states or certain people or whatever. It's most definitely Republicans trying to prevent financial aid from going to Democratic areas. Get a grip. Hold on. Oh, and that's the default setting for female voices in the South. That's true, but it's not just the accent. It's like if I listened to the three of them on a recording, one after the other, I wouldn't be able to identify which was which. Kandiss Owens, oh God, I keep saying it. Kandiss Taylor's voice is a little bit different than Marjorie Taylor Greene's, but Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ty Locke, indistinguishable.
And we've had no relief in South Georgia. And so they're tired of being ignored. They're really sick of it. I've heard it. I've toured these.
Yeah, and Donald Trump and Elon Musk are definitely going to make sure that these people get the federal aid that they need from FEMA, right? Absolutely. Good job, Kandiss. This is how you get your Georgian countrymen, or whatever the hell you want to call them, federal aid, by getting Elon Musk and Donald Trump in there. Fantastic.
15 counties for 2 years as Georgia's 1st district chairman of the GOP, and they want to be recognized, and they're going to be, and they're going to be represented by somebody who will not hold back, who will not apologize, and will go for the jugular. And I'm ready to go to DC and blow some things up.
Okay, maybe don't use that very specific term in the future when you are famous for having gotten things blown up before. She knew what she was doing here. She's not like, there are some politicians out there who say things in like a really clever, careful, calculated way. Like there was a speech that Joseph Goebbels was giving one time, and he said, I don't remember what it was. He basically slipped up. He was saying, we're going to exterminate these Jews from Germany, but he kind of tripped over his word, and instead of saying exterminate, he said, get rid of, or so he said, we're going to exterminate or just get rid of them from this country. Something to that effect. I don't remember the story now. But that's the kind of thing that Kandiss Taylor tries to do, and she doesn't do a particularly good job of it. It's not subtle at all. And it doesn't matter that it's not subtle now, because Kash Patel is the head of the FBI, and he's the one that would be investigating domestic terrorists like Kandiss Taylor.
They're going to be represented by somebody who will not hold back, who will not apologize, and will go for the jugular. And I'm ready to go to D.C. and blow some things up.
Kandiss, hang on. I'm going to hold you through the break. Kandiss Taylor, I take it, ma'am, you're announcing that you're all in for this congressional seat. Is that what I'm hearing?
You're the one that I'm announcing on, Steve. I decided I wasn't going to go to legacy media, that I wanted to announce with you. You are loyal to President Trump, and so am I, and we are here for the fight. So I thank you, sir, for letting me come on and announce here today.
Kandiss Taylor, and going to ye of pure of heart and pure of intention with your righteous indignation, what are the one or two things that you will commit to the folks in Georgia, in this congressional district in southern Georgia, that is deeply religious? What will you commit to them that you will do as a congressman that's not being done today, ma'am?
Well, if I could just say two things, I would quit killing babies and I would put prayer back in schools. That's
Oh my God, dude. Jesus, guns, and babies is her whole bit. Like I said, like at the beginning, this is what she talked about. This is what her whole thing was built on. Jesus, guns, and babies. Now, that aside, I'm not sure what she plans to accomplish by quote unquote putting prayer back in schools. Prayer is already in schools. People are allowed to pray in schools as much as they want. That was never banned. Teachers are not allowed to force students to take part in a prayer, to be led in prayer with the teacher or by the teacher. That's the difference. Teachers aren't allowed to impose that on students. And babies are not being killed, quote unquote, when there's an abortion. It's not a baby. It is literally a grouping of cells that is microscopic when something like 70-something% of abortions take place. And the other 25%, I think 73% are when it's nearly microscopic. 25% more are a very small clump of cells, which can technically be seen by the naked eye if you look real close. And the other, I don't know, 0.01% or something are done in cases where, the mom is about to die, for example, or when they find out the baby has no brain, there's just water in its head, hydroencephalus. This whole complaint that they have about how babies are being killed or whatever is fictitious nonsense designed to whip people into a blood frenzy. It's just a joke.
This would be my two things I would work hard for. But Steve, I want to say that.
Oh, and I'm sorry. And one more thing. How would that solve anything? What would that do for us? How would that fix our problems precisely? I'll take anything.
We need to pass the baton to a younger generation. It's time. These people like Mitch McConnell, you see them glitching on TV. You see that they are geriatric patients and they're still there in the Senate. And
she picked Mitch McConnell because McConnell has been very adversarial toward Donald Trump. She does not like McConnell right now, which I'm deeply entertained by. I love watching the infighting. McConnell is responsible for this situation that we are in right now. McConnell gave Donald Trump a Supreme Court seat that Obama should have been able to pick. He held that seat open for a year almost after Scalia died. Obama had the right to pick the Supreme Court justice for Scalia, and McConnell wouldn't even put it up to a vote for a year. McConnell voted not to impeach Donald Trump. He was the leader of the Senate. If he wanted, he could have whipped votes, is what it's called, gone around and convinced his fellow congressmen to vote to impeach. And McConnell chose not to and said, let's put the past behind us. McConnell is directly responsible for everything that is happening right now, 1-to-1 responsible. And now McConnell is saying, well, okay, well, I the polio vaccine is important. We should keep that. And no, I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump's, what a stupid shit that he's trying to do right now. He's the only dissent against Donald Trump at this immediate moment. McConnell is a joke of a human being, but she hates McConnell because he opposes Donald Trump, even in the lightest, most limp-wristed way, if you will.
In the House. And it's time that we stop being obsessed with power and that we find people who are educated and who are passionate.
Oh, you like education all of a sudden. First time hearing of it.
And who are ready to represent the people, right? We're supposed to represent our constituents. We're supposed to be public servants, and that they go with the fortitude and the knowledge to protect the Constitution with fresh, new ideas.
Do you know what the word fortitude means, Kandiss? I'm just wondering. Have you ever heard that word? Is this the first time you're using it? I mean, I think it was used correctly. I'm just wondering. It's a big word. I just don't know if somebody like her has ever been exposed to words that are 3 syllables or above.
And that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick up the baton and I'm going to make First District relevant in Georgia. And it's not only going to impact Georgia, it's going to impact America. And I'm going to work alongside President Trump to do that. And we're sick of special interest in Georgia having just a few people, but they have money or they have political ties. And those special interests are the ones that are represented in D.C. The interest are the people of Georgia. Those people are the interest. We, the people, are the special interest. So we're sick of these groups. We're experiencing that right now in the First District with the Okefenokee Swamp being sold out to UNESCO.
The what? Okefenokee Swamp? And who the hell is UNESCO? I feel like I should know this. Is there any relation to Nabisco?
Those people are the interest. We, the people, are the special interest. So we're sick of these groups. We're experiencing that right now in the First District with the Okefenokee Swamp.
Okefenokee Swamp. Okefenokee Swamp. What is Okefenokee Swamp? Wait, Okefenokee? Okefenokee Swamp is like a park in Georgia. UNESCO is the World Heritage Site, people, ain't it? Is it? Okefenokee. Interesting. Okay. I'm just like, God, it's so hard to tell when she's just making words up for the sake of it or when it's actually real.
The people of Georgia. Those people are the interest. We, the people, are the special interest. So we're sick of these groups. We're experiencing that right now in the First District with the Okefenokee Swamp.
Yeah, that's what she's talking about. Okefenokee Swamp.
Being sold out to UNESCO. And so we are working very diligently, grassroots effort to get to the Department of the Interior and make sure that they don't actually sign off on UNESCO, the United Nations, coming in and taking over our swamp. It is vital that that does not happen. People are going to lose land.
Okay, this is absolutely a conspiracy theory, right? Do you guys remember forever ago? You may not remember this because it was so long ago, and it was just like a little blip on the radar. But let me just find this clip. Hang on. In 2022, May 15th, Greg Locke comes up with, he comes out on his stage and he reveals this new conspiracy theory that he had.
So when all the witches get loosed and all the gas prices go up and all the stores start folding and people start losing their businesses, and guess what?
Yeah, by the way, that never happened under Biden. He was just like fabricating this, but okay.
Don't happen on May 22nd.
Tell me what's going to happen on May 22nd, Greg. 2022.
You just didn't hear about it because Biden don't want you to.
I bet.
They've given full authority to the World Health Organization. Matter of fact, it's funny that the video's in Chinese.
And you didn't think that maybe you should get like somebody who knows how to translate it directly instead of trusting subtitles? Okay.
They know who owns us. And now the World Health Organization has the power to take over the sovereignty of the United States of America and shut down anytime, anywhere they so choose.
No, in no way, shape, or form, not even a little bit. There isn't anything that could even be twisted into such a thing. No, the whole thing was fictitious all along. This is what I'm talking about. Like, these people come up with conspiracy theories out of thin air, seemingly, and spread them like wildfire.
I dare you to come up in this tent.
Oh, now he's gonna wave his dick around, right? Go ahead, wave your dick around there, Greg.
Try to shut us down with your fake pandemic bullcrap nonsense. Try to shut this church down. You hear me? You hear me? Try to shut up. We ain't ever shutting down World Health Organization. We ain't shutting down this church. We gonna stay open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we don't give two flips of a wooden nickel about what you or your mama says about it, you Chinese-loving devil.
Okay, well then. Nobody asked you to shut down, Greg. Get a grip on reality. Oh my God. That's what I'm talking about. Like, back to Kandiss Taylor and how this relates to her.
We have
She came up with another conspiracy, I guess, about like the UN or whatever.
and make sure that they don't actually sign off on UNESCO, the United Nations, coming in and taking over our swamp. It is vital that that does not happen.
The United Nations is going to come in and take sovereign land from the United States and claim it as their own. Please. Really, like, get help. There is a line at which family members should be coming in and, like, looking over your bank account information, taking your keys from you, and doing, putting you somewhere safe where you can't hurt yourself or others. And I think that moment has long passed with this person. I don't believe that religion is a mental disorder. I don't believe that it's a mental condition, but it's indistinguishable from a mental condition. In some cases, it's hard to tell the difference because people go so far down this rabbit hole that they don't know, like, what's real and what isn't. They can even talk themselves into believing that they're hearing the voice of God and stuff. They wouldn't be classified as schizophrenic, which, if I remember correctly, requires 3 visual or auditory hallucinations per month, at least. They wouldn't be classified as schizophrenic because they're not, like, for lack of a better term, involuntary hallucinations. It's like they're creating them in their own mind. Like, you can't be talked out of schizophrenia, but you can be talked out of religious extremism. But I will be damned if it is not completely indistinguishable. I cannot tell the difference.
And people are going to lose land. We have, Native Americans buried there. We have a huge
Suddenly she cares about Native Americans' burial locations.
interest in the swamp, and we want to protect it. And the people of Georgia have protected it for generations.
Give our audience, particularly the national audience in the...
God, Steve Bannon drives me up a fucking wall. I can't stand him, how he steps in and, like, I probably do the same thing. I've got crutch words and stuff like that, but when he wants to kind of insert himself in the conversation, he goes, get, like that. Listen, one more time.
The swamp, and we want to protect it. And the people of Georgia have protected it for generations.
Okay, what he just did, that's fine. Just letting her know I have something to say, so clamp it at the end of your sentence. But then he does this.
Give our...
God, it just drives me crazy, man. I'm sorry. I cannot stand it.
Audience, particularly the national audience and the global audience, just give us a minute on what you're talking about, because they think this is another right-wing religious fanatic that's dreamed up some conspiracy.
Yes, absolutely. That is correct.
Theory tied to the United Nations. So can you give us a minute and explain exactly what this is?
Absolutely. UNESCO is going to come in. They've actually already signed some things and got things in motion, and it's the United Nations. It will not be ran by South Georgia anymore.
That's what I'm talking about with the whole Greg Locke thing. You remember the WHO? The same stupid trash.
We have it's a huge tourist site. It's a natural swamp. It's the wetland. It's a resource there. It doesn't need to be touched. It's protected. But then the UNESCO is going to come into America and oversee everything and dictate what happens there. And so I don't know why environmentalist groups on the other side are not just having a fit and saying what is going on here and actually pitching a fit. They should be questioning right now why this is going on.
She is so insufferable. I'm sorry, man. I cannot stand her.
Last question. We got about a minute. Governor Kemp, whether you like him or don't like him, has one of the best, well-oiled political machines in the United States.
I can appreciate Kemp, though he's like a far-right nutcase. He ran against Kandiss Taylor, and when the whole 2020 election thing was going on, he reaffirmed multiple times that there was no cheating in the 2020 election and that it was just made up by Donald Trump. He is a lot like, God, what's his name? Governor of Texas. Greg Abbott, yeah. He's a lot like Greg Abbott, except he stood up to Trump. He stood up against Donald Trump, and I just see that as so honorable. That was some honorable shit right there, for real. So anyway, she, of course, hates Brian Kemp because he was her quote-unquote opponent in the Georgia governor race. She only got like 3% of the vote or something like that. She wasn't even close to like his opponent. But she claims that she was cheated out of it and she'd never give up and all that other stupid shit, you know.
President Trump, as beloved as he is and powerful as he is, and is beloved by people in Georgia, actually a couple times have gone up against that machine with candidates he's endorsed and not won. I'm sure the Kemp apparatus is not thrilled that you're running in a primary. Am I correct in that assertion?
Well, I don't know. I would hope Governor Kemp would support me. He and I have made peace. We saw each other at our RNC convention. We hug each other. I pray for him, Marty, every day. And I hope that he and I are on good standing. And just like he is with President Trump, he knows I've always fiercely supported him. But I hope to have Governor Kemp's support. And I would support him if he decided to run for something else. So,
wow, fascinating. I guess she doesn't hate Kemp anymore. That's really interesting. I have to wonder what Kemp did to earn the favor back of the MAGA movement. I cannot imagine it's good. I can't imagine he did anything that anybody would approve of to earn their favor back after all of that.
So hopefully I'll have his support. But the person I care about having endorsement from are the people of the 1st District, Jesus Christ, and President Trump.
Candiss, what?
She thinks she has Jesus Christ's approval.
What's your social media? Where can people find out more about you and your fight to win a seat in the House of Representatives, ma'am?
So everything, I'm Kandiss Taylor on all social media, all platforms. Y'all, I'm on Getter too with Steve, but Twitter, Facebook.
I'm on Getter too. God, I can't stand her. She's so insufferable. I'm on Getter too.
And Instagram, Telegram, everything. Gab. So y'all just go follow me there. And I just thank you so much for letting me announce here. I did talk to the Lieutenant Governor this morning and let him know I wasn't running for governor. He was happy. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, of course, and he's a great guy.
Oh my God, dude! Wow, that's really interesting.
Sir, you committed to ending the weapon.
I didn't want to play another. Jesus Christ.
Kandiss Taylor.
Anyway, that's really interesting. She said that she's not going to run for governor again, and she told Kemp that. And they were happy. I mean, she was never a challenge to Kemp. Not even close. Kemp's actually pretty popular in Georgia, to my knowledge. And again, I think she only got 3% of the vote or something like that. This is leading up to the election.
My slogan's Jesus, guns, and babies. Jesus, because that's our First Amendment right. It's the right to worship Jesus Christ freely. It's why we have a country. Don't talk to me about separation of church and state. Church and state was written because the state has no business in our church. But we are the church. We're the church, and we run the state. And Georgia's sovereign, and we're running this state with Jesus Christ first. The good thing about the First Amendment is if you're a Jew or you're a Muslim or you're a Buddhist, you still get to worship your God because you're in America. But you don't get to silence us. I'm sick of political correctness.
Gosh, she's so insufferable. The First Amendment was, the Establishment Clause, where it says, what was it specifically? It was, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. And that line in the Constitution, all right, this is a legal framework that exists, was written by legal experts to have a specific legal outcome. And dipshits trying to put their own interpretation, their own spin on it, that have no idea what they're talking about, will naturally come up with absolutely absurd results. The Constitution is a list of things that the government is not allowed to do. It's a list of things that the citizens and all of humanity, honestly, are protected from. You have a protection from unreasonable search and seizure, a protection from self-incrimination. The government cannot force you to whatever. Laws, on the other hand, are restrictions on citizens. So a constitution is a restriction on the government, laws, restriction on the citizens, by and large. And regulations, of course, restrictions on companies. Anyway, by putting the Establishment Clause in, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. In the U.S. Constitution, the federal Constitution, that means that it applies to all states as well and all state Congresses. So by putting that in, it meant that it was impossible to create a state church, and the emergent property, the emergent outcome of that is if you make a law favoring a religion, you have to allow all religions to do that thing. Basically, you can't discriminate based on religion is what this means. It doesn't mean you can't order holy books to exist in schools and for classes to be taught from them. It means you can't order Bibles to be in public schools and taught from. It means that you can do whatever religious shit you want, but you have to do it fairly. Everybody has to have a fair representation in the government. That was the thing. She doesn't understand how the Constitution is structured, how it works, what it means, why it was written, or probably even who wrote it, or what the intent was when it was written.
If you're a Jew or you're a Muslim,
and that's why you get stupid shit coming out of her mouth like this.
My slogan's Jesus, guns, and babies. Jesus, because that's our First Amendment right. It's the right.
The First Amendment right prevents discrimination based on religion, basically.
To worship Jesus Christ freely. It's why we have a country. Don't talk to me about separation of church and state. Church and state was written because the state has no business in our church. But we are the church. We're the church, and we run the state.
So her ass backward interpretation of this is, I am a Christian pastor, and as a Christian pastor or whatever, I have the right to run the state. I have a right to impose my religious beliefs on the people around me, the people in my district. But the state isn't allowed in my business, in my church. The state can't tell me that I blah, blah, blah. Complete nonsense. She has no clue what she is talking about. None. And you know what's sad? Real legal experts came up with this absurd interpretation that she's espousing right now. It wasn't even her dumbass that came up with it. It was legal experts who are Christian nationalists. They look at the commas and the semicolons and the past participles in it to try to come up with some ridiculous excuse as to why they're allowed to impose Christianity on everybody, but the Establishment Clause doesn't allow the government to impose any other religion, just Christianity. It's absurd. Oh yeah, and I wanted to talk about how she lost her election. This is her reaction. Oh, I love conservative tears.
But I wanted y'all to know that I do not concede. I do not.
Like I give a f***.
And if the people who did this and cheated are watching, I do not concede.
Oh my God. Oh no, she didn't concede. What am I going to do now? I thought I won.
And the people of Georgia will not allow me to, because I represent them. See, it's not about
She's literally crying right now.
me. It's not about Kandiss Taylor. It's about the people of Georgia. It's about the people of America.
About the people of America. Totally. Absolutely. You're looking out for America. Not for you, for America. All right, tell me what you think about her in the comments. She is such a joke. Such a joke of a human being.